This is Tips from the Top, a Perry Marketing production. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tips from the Top, a monthly podcast presented by Perry Marketing for B2B software and technology entrepreneurs, marketers, and salespeople. Perry Marketing is a full-service B2B digital marketing agency with a keen focus and deep roots in enterprise technology and software marketing. We understand how software is purchased within enterprise technology organizations, and we know how to market it.
Okay, let's begin. This is the Perry Marketing webinar series. This is the first of many we're going to be doing. We're going to be talking about navigating inbound marketing across data security, compliance, consumer privacy law, and now some generative AI governance mandates that are here and more that are coming. This is a joint presentation between Perry Marketing and HubSpot. We have a guest from HubSpot that's going to do a sensitive data use case. I'll be talking about the landscape of data governance across both InfoSec, privacy, and generative AI. This meeting is being recorded, so your participation, I'm going to presume that you're giving us permission to record this webinar. You can send, we'll follow up with everybody after the webinar with a link for on-demand viewing for your consumption, and feel free to share it with colleagues as well. I'm your host. My name is Tony Perry. I'm not going to go through each of these. The thing to note here is I started working in enterprise computing, helping small software vendors generate leads, sell software in the late 90s, early 2000s. Became an IBM champion, which just means I'm an advocate for IBM. I also have a software company called Santa Rosa Software. I want to also introduce our other guest host, Jerome Simmons. Jerome, feel free to say hello.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jerome Simmons. I am a product marketer here at HubSpot, where I focus on the smart CRM. But in my past life, I've served as a strategy consultant before getting my MBA at the University of Chicago. And I've spent my post-MBA career in technology and software as a service companies, Adobe, and then some rev tech companies, Convex. And happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerome. Our agenda today, and we'll have a Q&A, as you can see at the end of the presentation. At any point in time today, feel free to put a question in the chat dialogue of the Zoom meeting. We also have our creative director at Perry Marketing, Jamie Hood, here with us. He's going to kind of help keep us all in order, make sure I don't stray from the presentation too much, and if anything comes up that we need troubleshooting for, Jamie will help with that. Thank you, Jamie. We're going to talk a little bit about the data landscape. We're going to talk about the playing field, the regulatory constraints, what I call the governance trifecta. Yes, it is a problem. For many of you, it's not a problem yet, but it's coming. We're going to have a short discussion on strategies to manage this governance trifecta problem. Jerome's going to do a HubSpot use case on sensitive data, and at the end, we'll do a Q&A. But again, at any time in the presentation that you have a question, please put it in the chat dialogue of the Zoom, and we will get to that immediately, really. I want this to be interactive as we possibly can. So what's the problem? The problem is your data in your organization is customer data. It has a lot of constraints now. InfoSec constraints have been around for a good 10, 12 years. And the problem is the people that you work alongside are a majority of the reason why we have breaches. This is the Verizon Data Breach Investigative Report from 2024, came out earlier this year. 68% of all breaches investigated in the DBIR involved some human element. So people are working hard, they're working fast, they're trying to get things completed, they click on the wrong thing, you have a breach. So your teammates, your whole organization needs help. As you know, in any organizational structure with business or government, things flow from the top on down. The problem there is management works in silos apart from each other. So there are horizontal and vertical silos. You don't spend a whole lot of time with the CXOs in your organization, nor do you spend a whole lot of time with other departments in the organization. So a lot of this dysfunction, not just with getting work done, but a lot with security and privacy stems from everybody working in silos. This is just some of the horizontal silos that I'm talking about. Marketing typically works apart from operations, sales, and IT. And let's talk a little bit more about the playing field. Things have changed. We sent this webinar invitation to mostly technology companies, so there's a good chance you are a technology company. Commoditization of IT means that your products, no matter how much you love them and think of them, they're not really unique. And this is called the commoditization of IT. And so the differentiator, how you're going to beat your competition, is have better data. And so this is why we talk about data being the new oil. And CXOs and boards of directors are now asking marketing and IT, the titles in your organizations now that are managing the data, to take that data and turn it into revenue. The problem, sales, marketing, and IT are all working way too fast, and they're all under-resourced. And so this is where mistakes come. This is why 68% of all data breaches involve some human element. Additionally, there are consumer privacy mandates that are coming state by state. Several of them came out this year, led by the state of California with the CCPA and CPRA. And as I mentioned before, the data security and compliance standards have been around for a long time. And there are now 2 compliance mandates regulating generative AI. We'll talk about those in a few minutes. So where does this leave IT, traditionally the people who have been in charge of data security and compliance? IT is generally focused on functional, quality, technical results. They are the people that deliver the services that you and the CXOs in your organization consume every day, like email, web browsing, CRM systems, ERP systems. Marketing is there in the mix, using all of these services, creating messaging that creates leads that hopefully lead to sales and direct purchases. Like 2 ships in the night, IT and marketing really don't communicate a lot, but as we'll talk about later in this presentation, you really have a lot in common. It's a unique opportunity to build upon the relationship with your IT team. And we're going to talk a little bit about how similar you guys are here in a few minutes. What are the players? So these are all the players that are asking for things, consuming services, and therefore using data throughout your organization, whether you're a small business or a large Fortune 500 enterprise. There's the CEO and the board, there's the chief marketing officer, CTO or CIO, they're consuming and managing a bulk of the data. You also have the chief human resources officer and the chief legal officer. Those 2 titles generally work very closely together. And when all things go astray with your data and it being compromised, this is when the chief information security officer steps in. The CEO and board communicate quite regularly. The CMO and the CTO don't communicate that much. Nobody really communicates with HR unless you're ready to hire somebody. And thankfully, you don't communicate with legal too much. But I think in the future, we're going to see that legal is going to be carrying the flag for a lot of this generative AI governance that we're about to see and talk about in this presentation. So I exaggerated a little bit in the previous slide. The CTO, CIO, CISO, the IT side does communicate some with the marketing team, and I think they probably communicate more with the marketing team than the CXOs, board of directors, and HR and legal. So there is some communication there. So we mentioned earlier, data is toxic gold. Data is the new gold. As we said, if you're a technology company, your differentiation, because your products aren't different from your competitors, as much as you don't like hearing that, they are. Data is the way you're going to be able to outpace the competition. Data gives you better insight to who your customers are, who your prospects are, That creates better opportunities for your chief marketing officer and his or her or their team to create better communication and message to the marketplace in a more streamlined manner to increase response and hopefully increase pipeline and therefore sales. The thing that's keeping CIOs and CTOs up at night is this means that more and more inexperienced people in your organizations are having access and using data. They might be taking data at home. They'll put it on a jump drive, and if your organization has a policy that allows that, taking data home where they may be sharing data with other people. So this is what's keeping CIO and CTOs up at night because they know the majority of breaches are caused by the human element. Controlling this data access is very tough. So this is just a little more about the silos. You typically have 5 silos that are working in the business. IT and marketing, again, we're going to talk about how you can forge alliances there. HR, core business, and compliance. These are all things that are going to be creeping into things you have to manage in the future that you probably didn't have to worry about so much in the past. Information security, yes, that's been around and been socialized since the Target breach in 2013. Now we're seeing a lot of privacy laws come into play and also AI constraints and regulations. So let's talk about marketing and IT. Marketing and IT are uncanny teammates. You may not think you have a lot in common with each other, but you really do. IT, as we said before, generally focused on service delivery. Something goes wrong with email, the first thing a CXO will do is they're going to call IT and say, hey, there's something wrong with email. Could be something similar with your website. They are generally the service delivery team. Marketing is there to create compelling messaging that connects and drives opportunities for pipeline that will hopefully result in sales. And like two ships that pass in the night, sometimes touching bows, IT and marketing do things that are very abstract to the rest of the organization. If you've ever tried to explain somebody inbound marketing and performance, click-throughs, all of the things that you look at statistically in marketing, it's very abstract to people. IT, similar, the same. IT is also very abstract, and because people don't understand marketing and IT, they really sometimes just don't believe in it. So this is a unique opportunity to create and forge what we call the compliance alliance with your IT brethren, because it's marketing and IT that do most of the consumption of data to deliver services and also deliver opportunities for growth for the business. Any questions that have come through, Jamie? No?
None yet.
Okay. So really the dynamic here is IT marketing and shareholders, the people that own your business essentially. If your business or the business that you're selling to involves shareholders, there's an interesting dynamic that comes about here, that IT is doing all of the service delivery, the technical configurations. Marketing is all about connecting with customers, and the shareholders are thinking about the bottom line. And the thing to note from this slide is that IT really doesn't have a lot of say in strategic things and goals that are going on within your organization. Neither does marketing. And shareholders hold all the power. And shareholders could be easily replaced with CXOs, the people running your organization, if your organization has a board of directors. Everything is about the bottom line and getting work done fast. And that generally means another opportunity for IT and marketing to create this alliance, because you're both under pressure to deliver and you're both short-staffed. Let's do a poll question here. So this poll question, I just want to get a feel for what our audience, the makeup of our audience. Are you sales or marketing, operations or general business, IT support, human resources, or other? I'll just give everybody a minute or two to answer these questions. All 5 questions are here. We'll do a couple of them going through the presentation here. Jamie, can everybody see? Can you all see the polling questions?
Tony, I can't see it.
How about now?
There it is.
Okay, thank you. Again, there are 5 questions in here. I'll just give you guys a minute or two or a few seconds here to answer these. I'm just going to let that run a minute and keep going in the presentation. So, given that there are differentiating goals between IT, marketing, shareholders, or CXOs, there is going to be conflict, and this creates what we call healthy tension. And everybody is the thing that the pandemic brought about was people being able to work from home, costs being cut, and organizations not really being in touch with their employees, people working in silos even more, people feeling isolated, and there's a cost to that. I think what we saw with that first couple of slides there, 68% of all breaches being some form of human element. I think some of that comes from this isolation. What you need to do in the bottom line is negotiate mutual value and compatible standards across marketing and IT. Create that compliance alliance and have an understanding of what you're both going through and be able to manage the projects that you have and also manage the expectations above from the CXO faction in your organization so that you can help them understand the projects that they've given you in the past, the work that you have in front of you, and the workload that you have and the time frames they give you to do the work within. I've got a second poll question in here. It looks like some of you have already answered it. Speaking of isolation and working in silos, do you communicate regularly with IT on marketing projects? This is a good spot to answer that question. And so a little more on this compliance alliance. Don't forget that your IT brethren are just as misunderstood as the marketing team, and identify common sources of the mandates that you're both under, not just within your organization, but from these security and privacy and AI governance mandates that we're going to look at here in a few minutes. Find that common value and try to forge relationships, because a lot of times it's the upper level people in your organization versus you. And if you forge that alliance on the sales and marketing and IT side, you'll have some type of momentum, some type of I don't really want to say power, but it's some type of power to push back and try to get control of the work that you've been giving and also the time frames that you have to complete that work. It's got to change. But what happens if nothing changes?
Tony, I'm sorry. Your PowerPoint slides are not showing.
Oh, really? Jamie, can you see?
I see them, yes.
See them? Okay.
Okay, so I'm on a slide with a woman looking forlorn. Something has obviously just happened to her. So what happens if nothing changes? So from some of the research we've done, here's a list of the biggest data breaches, fines, and penalties going back to about the time that the Verizon breach investigation report, the DBIR, was completed. You can see Diddy Global is a Chinese Amazon type organization. These fines are massive, and they are quite disruptive to the organizations that have to find them. Many of these violations are GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation. It's a consumer privacy regulation in Europe. And it is the regulation in Europe that a lot of the US privacy mandates are built upon, the CCPR, the CCPA, other compliance regulations in Connecticut, Virginia. Eventually, all US states are going to have these privacy regulations. Of the 130,000 personal data breaches that were reported to the GDPR, the people that are managing the GDPR, this was an increase from a couple of years before. So we're not really getting any better at managing data security. And I do a lot of research and writing on data security, privacy, and now I'm starting to do some research and writing on AI governance. Every breach I've ever written about and investigated, the breached organization had millions of dollars invested in security, software, and hardware. And again, it's just a human element that is breaking things. PII is personally identifiable information. These are some of the state mandates for consumer privacy. These mandates are all based on the GDPR, and they are to protect citizens' rights. You can see there are several in California. I believe at this writing in February there were 13. I think there's another 7 coming at the first of the year. Within the first few months of 2025, there are 7 more coming. This data comes from IAPP, is that right, Jamie? I've got a link for IAPP, IAPP.org.
Yes.
This is what we're seeing here in the US is what's called the domino effect for privacy. The thing to note about privacy is that for information security, that's typically managed by IT titles, CIOs, CTOs, CISOs. Privacy, when we're out on the road going to trade shows and conferences, we're seeing on the privacy side a lot of legal people coming to the booth and asking us questions about creating policies for PII, consumer protection, consumer data protection. And this is why I started talking about silos in these presentations, because I know chief legal officers do not talk to CTOs. And CIOs and CISOs. So this is going to be a problem. You're going to have one department managing privacy, consumer privacy, and PII. You've got IT managing data security, information security. And then with AI, there's a couple of AI mandates out now. That's going to be a committee. That's going to be managed by a committee. It's going to be managed by IT, HR, legal, and I believe on the sales and marketing side, a chief marketing officer or chief revenue officer. The thing to note about this slide is that in Europe, it took about 3 years for the really big fines to take place after the GDPR was put in place. So I think you do have some time here. You do have some time to understand what the constraints are and what the compliance mandates are on the privacy side, and also on the AI governance side. So these mandates are going to be launched. There's going to be some breaches, some violations of consumers asking for their data to be removed. Learning language models on the AI side, some violations there. But you have time, and that's why I wanted to do this presentation, so that you all could be aware of these compliance mandates that are coming through for consumer privacy and also AI, and have some time to prepare for them. But make no mistake about it, these fines are coming. This is a little bit about some work I've been doing with the Linux Foundation on a white paper that brings a lot of awareness to CXOs and boards of directors on what AI is and what AI governance should be. And then also, I've added a couple of bullets here for 2 AI governance mandates that are already in place. So the EU has an AI Act that came into existence in July of this year. There's also an ISO. This ISO is for U.S. What did they call it? I'm sorry, I didn't keep my notes here. It is artificial intelligence management service. So AIMS, I believe, is what it is. So this means that in the U.S. there is already a mandate. There is already a guideline for creating learning language models that don't hurt people or don't try to confuse people. This is essentially the genesis of the EU AI Act, like the GDPR, where a lot of privacy policy in the US, state by state, has been created. I believe this ISO Act 42001 is a direct result of the EU AI Act. And I promise you more are coming. What this has created is what I call the data governance trifecta. Data security, you're already been creating policies and software services and hardware hardening for keeping data security, keeping identity and intellectual property secure. You've been doing that for 10 or 12 years. Consumer privacy is very new. You've only been protecting consumer data and responding to consumer requests to remove data for a year and a half, maybe 2 years now. Now you've got machine learning, governance, and AI to worry about. This is going to be a problem because, again, of silos. So I see some of you have already answered the third question, which I wanted to talk about a little bit now. Did you know there was an AI directive in both EU and the US? And so thank you for answering that question. This is going to be a real problem. And the reason it's going to be a real problem is because, again, going back to that Verizon DBIR report where it said 68% of breaches had some form of human element. Humans generally work isolated in silos. And so this is going to be a big problem moving forward for consumer privacy and machine learning governance. I can't stress enough how inclusive you have to be with your coworkers. I think it's important to have HR involved in cybersecurity and consumer privacy. That way, when you're onboarding new employees, HR can get involved and go through some scenarios of employee-led breaches or employee-caused breaches, and socialize this with every new hire when they start. Within the first week or two of every new hire being hired, somebody in HR needs to go through an onboarding exercise of the dangers of clicking on something that you don't understand or that doesn't look familiar. And this is very important to get HR involved with IT and also with marketing when you're talking about data. In 2023, the average cost of a data breach reached an all-time high of $4.5 million. And again, it's an increase from the previous year and a 15% increase from 2020. Again, I can't stress how surprised I am every time I do a research writing project and look at the particulars and the history of the breach, the forensics of the breach. Every organization that has a breach as large as $4.5 million had millions invested in people, millions invested in software, and a lot of process involved. And again, it comes about by somebody clicking on the wrong thing. As I've been saying, you have to band together. You have to work across silos. The big three, what we talk about when, I get a lot of questions. How do I manage all of the different data security mandates by both law and by industry, such as HIPAA, PCI DSS, FISMA? you can't account for all of them, but there are certain things you can do across your enterprise by having people communicate, having good processes for understanding what the regulations are. If there's a way to incorporate into your software stipulations of those regulations that give you visibility, that's what we're talking about for process. Can you see when there's been a violation of the CCPA? Do you know where all the data is in your system when somebody in California says, you need to remove me from your system? Do you know where every instance of that individual is and all of the metadata linked to their name and social security number? This is visibility into your data everywhere, not just in on people's computers that's being used in live and at rest, but data that's been archived as well. So this is visibility. This is people in process having the right people in place and the visibility to see what they need to do that's related to a mandate. Everybody has systems. There's not really a lot to say about systems other than you can't just have systems. You have to have systems incorporated with people and process, and they all need to be working together. And all of those people need to be working across silos to work together to be proactive about managing data. Jerome's going to talk a little bit about a sensitive data use case. Jerome from HubSpot, please take it away. Thank you.
Thank you. So, as Tony was saying, data is a differentiator. And I'm going to talk a little bit about sensitive data, what it is, and how we think about it at HubSpot as being the basis to fuel your business. And then we'll walk through some of the features and ways to use sensitive data to run your business. So by definition, sensitive data is confidential information, that people really need permission in order to access, and it has to be kept safe from outsiders. There are kind of 4 categories of data that get increasingly sensitive, and starting with personal data. This is the broadest category. It's personal information such as phone numbers, email address, purchase history. And this is important information in order to keep your business running efficiently. And it's really foundational to HubSpot's functionality. But going a level deeper, we've got this category of sensitive data. And this involves, identifiers like your driver's license number, demographic information that you don't necessarily want exposed. And it's a broad category that's really defined by different regulations globally that really affect all of our customers' businesses. Now, HIPAA data is a subset of sensitive data. It's specific to the United States, and it's protected health information that is safeguarded by U.S. law. This involves things like medical records, health condition information, lab results from blood tests, etc. And it applies to covered entities like care providers and their business associates who perform work on behalf of covered entities. Now, the 4th and final category is highly sensitive data. This is information that could be very damaging if it was compromised, such as social security numbers or bank account numbers. And at HubSpot, we treat all data very carefully, but for these sensitive data cases, we really add additional layers of protection based on the level of sensitivity. Now, on the next slide, we'll talk a bit about what you can do with sensitive data. So our privacy and security protections really empower organizations to easily and safely do 3 things. First is accelerating their go-to-market capabilities and efforts, using this information to help sales and marketing and other teams really monetize the market landscape. Second is managing regulatory compliance. So this is, keeping customer information safe and secure, which ultimately prevents business disruptions by using our products in a compliant way. And, as Tony shared, the implications of mishandling data can really be severe. So you want to leverage technology that can grow with your business and help you grow your business safely and effectively. Now we'll dive into some of the use cases on the next slide. And in terms of our sensitive data products really help securely fuel your go-to-market engine in three different ways. First is collecting sensitive data and loading it into your CRM. In healthcare, this could mean giving your patients access to a secure way to provide their health history, so they're not losing time. You're not losing time in the waiting rooms, and your organization can see more patients in a day. In financial services, this could mean building robust customer profiles with information from credit bureaus like credit scores, so you can design and deliver better financial products. In terms of storing sensitive data, these might be capturing sensitive properties in order to better understand a contact record. And this unlocks different use cases like financial services. Customer support teams may verify an identity or an account holder by using the last 4 digits of a credit card number, which is considered sensitive data. And by storing sensitive data really securely, an organization can make sure that really the right teams or individuals have access to this information and can use it in a helpful way, but no one else can. And as a marketer, my favorite use case is the third, which is really personalizing customer experiences. So with sensitive data in your CRM, you can really develop much more targeted campaigns. So in finance, this might be running a campaign based on loan information and income data, which are sensitive and need to be handled carefully. For healthcare, we had a customer who synced medical device trials information with insurance information in order to improve their customers' experience. And really using this confidential information then to create lists and develop better workflows allows your organization to better communicate with your customers or prospects. On the next slide, we will... Thank you. We'll talk a bit about sensitive data, and our products really help our customers then comply with HIPAA regulations and other regulatory standards like GDPR. Ultimately, though, good compliance management within your organization prevents business disruptions. And as Tony was talking about, really a lot of these breaches and issues come from human error. So it's important to put together the right systems in place in order to prevent these kind of breaches. And we really help you manage compliance and prevent business disruptions in a few ways. We make sensitive data auditable, secure, and appropriately restricted. Now, talking a little bit about the functionality in terms of keeping sensitive data auditable, we're really providing comprehensive audit logging solution. Admins are able to see when sensitive properties are edited. They can see the actions that specific users take and more, which really then allows your organization to monitor access in your tech stack, perform regular audits, and protect yourself from suspicious activities. In terms of making sensitive data secure, we provide additional layers of encryption for both properties and files. For example, sensitive properties and files are encrypted in downstream storage services, which really ensures that sensitive information is not exposed without authorization. And for highly sensitive data, we apply click-to-decrypt masking, which hides fields from unauthorized users. And appropriate restrictions are really important. insensitive data, and making sure that you're limiting access to the right people. A couple of ways that we enable this is through single sign-on. So this would validate that the right users are accessing your tech stack, and admins can then set permissions at a user level or a particular field level, which limits then the visibility that audiences have to your data. So only the right parties then are able to access information. And then lastly, for HIPAA-covered entities, and their business associates, we've added legal agreements to make sure that organizations fulfill their legal obligations. And all of this is really well integrated into the product. That's my favorite part. The features and functionality are kind of brought into the platform in a way that's easy to use, fast to set up and realize value, and offers you a really unified view of your customer. But most importantly, all of this allows you to then successfully run your business with data in a safe and compliant way. And on the next slide, we've linked to a few resources if you'd like to learn more about sensitive data through our website. We also have knowledge-based articles and a Trust Center that can walk you through some more of the specifics, but very helpful resources. And I'll pass it back to Tony to lead us through the rest.
Very nice, Jerome. I think it's really important to note that HubSpot is the only CRM marketing automation provider that I know of that is creating industry-specific compliance into their software offering. I'm impressed that you guys did healthcare first. HIPAA is the most robust and juiciest data that a cyber criminal would want. It tells the biggest story about the individual because it not only has financial information in there, it has your essence of being information in there. It is the most robust data. So very impressed. Here's how you can get in touch with us. Perry Marketing is a HubSpot solutions provider. If you're interested in looking deeper into the HubSpot solution, please reach out to us, and we, Perry Marketing, can be a good resource for you in learning more about the product and understanding the product. And if you're already a HubSpot solutions provider, we also do a lot of content for our clients to be used in inbound marketing across the HubSpot platform. We're also resellers of a couple of other solutions that I'm not going to mention here. I think the important thing to understand there is, and get from us there, is that we believe HubSpot is the leader, and which is why we did this presentation with HubSpot. So thank you, Jerome.
Thank you.
A little bit about the polling questions that we had. Most of the people today were sales and marketing or IT support, so we did a good job marketing that. Those are the people we wanted in this presentation. Do you communicate regularly with IT, the marketing and IT sides? It's good to see that 67% of you are communicating regularly between IT and marketing. Again, this is a good alliance. This is a good compliance alliance to have, because when the SE2 hits the fan, it's going to be the IT and the marketing people that are going to be looked at really closely for the culprits and the forensics. The third question, did you know that there was an AI directive both in the EU and in the USA? Only 40% of you knew that, so I'm happy that we were able to help with that understanding. Again, along those lines, this is very new. AI governance is very new. The EU AI Act just came out in July. Nobody knows about ISO 4000 or 42001. So I think there are more coming. They're going to be likely done state by state, as with the consumer privacy mandates. How well does my boss know my workload when giving me additional assignments? Only 20% of you said you're well connected. That's not surprising, but again, it shows that at some degree you must manage up as they are managing down, and help them understand the work that's already on your plate versus the work they're giving you today in the future. Again, 68% of all breaches involve a human element. And the reason they do is because people are overworked and understaffed. So try to keep those superiors of yours in check as much as possible. The last question was just a curiosity. Do you have the following? Most of you, all of you had a CRM system, inbound marketing automation system. Most of you had that. It was surprising that only 60% of you had a project management system. In our organization, Perry Marketing, we heavily leverage ClickUp, and Jamie can attest to this. I don't know how we get work done with the small team that we have and all the projects that we have. Literally hundreds of projects in our project management system. I don't know how we do it without a project management system. Again, if we're not trying to sell you a project management system, but if you need help in understanding and want us to show you, take you through ClickUp, we'd be happy to do that. Database buying signal platforms such as ZoomInfo, Apollo, Demand Science, only 40% of you had that. Happy to have a conversation and help you with that as well. Those have been very helpful to us, not just with this webinar, but also I've had several customers that used ZoomInfo. That it's a little pricey, but it's a fantastic tool, not just for data, but also for understanding who's out there searching for solutions. If you're a solutions provider, this is ZoomInfo is a great tool to understand who's researching products and who has a project going on looking for new projects. That's about all. Jamie, are there any questions in the chat?
There were no questions. You guys did a great job.
Oh, thank you. Once again, we want to thank you for joining us. The timing was good. You give you 11 minutes back in your day. We scheduled this for an hour. We will send a follow-up email with a link to this presentation and also a link to watch this presentation again, if you want to check it out again or share it with your colleagues. Jerome, thank you so much. Couldn't have done it without you. We're very impressed with the HIPAA stuff you've injected, and you and the team have injected into HubSpot. And I really keep me posted on the next industry type of data security that you guys build into this thing. It's very cool.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Jamie, thank you as always. Appreciate your help.
Sure thing.
I'm going, one more thing I just wanted to point out. We have a few other slides in an appendix, a little bit of information on Perry Marketing, a little bit more information on HubSpot. So thank you all. Look for an email from us in a follow-up with the PowerPoint deck and a link to view the on-demand presentation. Jerome, have a good day. Talk to you soon. Jamie, thank you. Talk to you soon.
Thanks everyone for listening. I hope you have enjoyed today's conversation as much as I did. Please visit us at perrymarketing.com, subscribe to our podcast, and join us again next month. We will talk again.
Be sure to join us next month for another episode of Tips from the Top. And you can always visit perrymarketing.com for our podcast archive and other sales and marketing content to help you sell more software.